So still in South Africa, according to StatsSA, more than 16,000 kidnappings are recorded annually in the country. The escalating number of kidnappings in South Africa has reached unprecedented levels, with recent incidents shedding light on the dire reality faced by citizens. South Africa's major cities dominated the list for the high crime rate in Africa at the start of 2024. Shockingly, 85% of these victims are women and children. According to StatsSA, in 2022 to 2023 financial year, the total number of kidnappings in South Africa reached 15,343 cases. Gauteng had the highest number of kidnappings with 7,818 reports. KwaZulu-Natal followed with 3,081 cases of kidnapping in the same period. And now, to discuss this, we are joined by Willem L., Senior Training Coordinator, Institute for Security Studies. Thank you so much, Willem, for joining us.
Good evening to you.
So let's start by talking about this data. How reliable is it, looking at the statistics?
Well, every time you look at data, of course, there is some margin of error that you have to bring into account, because one of the reasons for that is, for instance, the underreporting of crimes because of fear, because of intimidation, etc., etc. So that is why it is very important when you look at data, you have to try to verify it with different sources. So here in South Africa, we will look at the police crime statistics. We also look at the Department of Statistics for their numbers. And at the Institute for Security Studies, we also have a crime hub that keep statistics on crime, and then trying to enhance and to work with the police in order to bring those statistics closer to what the reality is.
So can you then provide an overview of the current state of crime in South Africa, particularly in relation to kidnapping?
In terms of kidnappings, the numbers, the statistics that has been given, it is very close to that of what the police has given in the previous financial book year. But what we also see is that according to our statistics over the past decade, we see that kidnappings and kidnap for ransom, it rose by a staggering 260% in South Africa alone, placing us in the 7th spot in the world when it comes to kidnappings.
All right, so what factors do you believe contribute to South Africa topping the list of crime in Africa?
Okay, there are various indicators that we're looking at. For instance, if you look at the Transnational Organized Crime Index for Africa, for instance, where we look at 17 different indicators, of which kidnapping for ransom and kidnapping is one of them. We are currently, South Africa is number 3 in Africa, but it's also number 7 in the world when it comes to criminality in terms of transnational organized crime and syndicates that are operating in that country. And that is not a very good spot for South Africa to be out of 193 countries. We see that in the SADC region, South Africa is number 1. So that is really problematic. If you look at the crime statistics of the last quarter in South Africa, they released the crime statistic quarterly, and we can see a tremendous spike, especially in your contact and your violence crimes, your crimes against women and children. So what you are showing at the moment is one of the incidences in the Western Cape where that little girl was kidnapped. We also have a case that is currently ongoing where a mother, for instance, kidnapped or took their 2 children and they illegally crossed the border to Zimbabwe, where they found refuge in one of the cities with a religious institution, where the father is in Cape Town, and he also registered a case of kidnapping against the mother. So we can see, as you mentioned, according to our statistics, 85% of all kidnappings other women or children are involved, and that is really staggering.
So what drastic steps must be taken to deal with the issue of kidnapping in the country?
In the first place, the police has established your kidnapping task teams. You must then look at where most of your kidnappings are taking place. You mentioned that in the Gauteng province, obviously, the majority of that is taking place. And then what they do is these task teams are then multi agency task teams that are looking at that. They're looking at intelligence. They're looking at preemptive as well as reactive measures in order to take that account. But if you look at why and where we see the kidnappings and what is happening, we see that the majority of these people are kidnapped for ransom for demands. So they are ransom that is demanded. We look at human trafficking. That is quite high, especially in our TOC index. Also, we see that human trafficking is the highest of those indicators in South Africa. So there's a really big worry for us, because children as young as just being teenagers are being kidnapped by these rings in order to exploit them. We see the drug syndicates, business debt feuds, but also something that came to our attention of late is especially amongst your universities, where students are being targeted as being kidnapped.
All right. Willem, thank you so much for your time.